Hello my lovely friends, it's Margaret. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be talking about everything you need to know if you're participating in the Eras Reading Challenge, Round 1. If this is the first time you have ever heard of the Eras Reading Challenge, I will have a video up top that will go into a little bit more detail about what's going on and how it works. This video is specifically going to be focusing on the face-offs of the Taylor Swift songs that made it to Round 1. There is a more laid-back version of this reading challenge. It's detailed in the video that I linked up top. If that is the one that you are interested in, I would definitely check out the new Google Doc below because that will have all of the prompts. We'll also have graphics for them on the Instagram, on the Twitter, in the Discord. I will actually get everything uploaded this time, I promise. Also, we have 2 Spotify playlists now for the 2022 Readathon. We have the 2022 Readathon final setlist playlist for all of the songs that ended up winning in the 2022 Readathon for each album. And then we also have just the 2022 Eras Readathon playlist. That one is all of the songs that people read a book for. So basically, if you submitted a book for a song, that song is on that playlist. I will have both of those linked down below in the description box, as well as the Round 1 playlist for the reading challenge with all of the songs that made it through to Round 1. Speaking of Round 1, because we are starting out with 128 songs. I took it down from 200. 128 songs. We're going to be splitting this up into 5 different parts. So we're not going to do all 128 of them all at the same time. You guys will have some time to do some of that stuff. I will be taking you through the breakdown of each of those rounds here in just a minute, but my phone needs to charge. So we're just going to go over some of the other stuff that you need. The way that this is going to work, every round is going to have a number of face-offs from each of the albums. And basically what you want to do is get your song to have the most points. I have tried to, we've started out just pairing up songs that are on the same album. Eventually things will end up getting mixed up, but right now it's just songs that are on the same album. I tried to pair them up with songs that like were similar in some way, or like in some cases it was like it's a direct mirror. If any of these pairings feel like a personal attack because they're both your favorite song, I am so sorry. That was not intentional, but deal with it. So the 13 songs that made it to the final playlist are automatically going to Round 2. So Should Have Said No, Tell Me Why, Back to December, I Knew You Were Trouble, I Know Places, Ready for It, I Think He Knows, Betty, No Body, No Crime, Antihero, New Romantics, I Bet You Think About Me, and The Great War are all advancing automatically to Round 2. We won't see them in this particular round. Be thankful, that is one less choice that you have to make. So for the face-offs, the song that has the most amount of points is the one that is going to move forward into Round 2. And this time, instead of only being able to submit 1 book per song, you are able to read as many books as you want. So if we go through this and you're like, I don't really care about most of these, but there is one song that I want to see get, you can read 10 books that fit the prompts for that song. You might get sick of it if it's like our song and you're trying to read a YA romance and you have to read 10 YA romances in a row. And once again, we are going to do it so that 1 book is able to be used for 2 songs. They just have to be on separate albums, which shouldn't really be an issue here. So the boosts do still apply. They are Taylor's Version, which is to read a book written by a Sagittarius, 13, which is to read 13 books, and I'd Lie, which is to read a book that is out of print. You can only use that boost once per part or round. The other thing is if you're using a book for 2 songs, you can only use the boost on 1 of those songs. So if you read a book that's supposed to count for Begin Again and also for I've forgotten all of Taylor Swift's songs. So if you read a book that's supposed to count for Sparks Fly and Begin Again, you would only be able to use it on either Sparks Fly or Begin Again. So that is everything I can tell you about how the Eras Reading Challenge is going to work. Now let's take a look at what songs will be facing off against each other. Now you would think that 128 is a lot of songs, and it is, but when you're trying to take 200 songs and choose the best 128 of them, it hurts on a deep personal level because I love them all. Thankfully, you guys did make it a little bit easier on me because I was able to take the songs that y'all had submitted books for, and those all just automatically went into Round 1, and then I just kind of filled out the albums from there so that everybody had an equal number to choose from each album. So with the exception of Round 1, each round is going to have 10 face-offs that we are doing. Round 1 is going to have 11 just because that's how the numbers worked out. I literally just did the thing you do in middle school and just went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and all of the 1s ended up in part 1, all of the 2s, and all of that good stuff. So, I'm sorry if we're not getting to your favorite fast enough, but we'll get there, we'll get there. Editing Margaret here because I messed up the dates. that happened before the video. I messed up the dates and a couple of other things, so we are actually going to refilm this part. So, dates for the 5 parts of round 1 are going to be part 1, January 13th through February 16th. Part 2, February 17th through March 16th. Part 3, March 17th through April 13th. Part 4 is March 14th through May 11th. And then part 5 is going to be May 12th through June 15th. So those are the different parts to round 1. And then I will go ahead and also give you guys an idea of what the matchups, the face-offs are going to be. I will have graphics for all of this that I'm going to put on screen. Y'all already know the ones that have gone automatically to part 2, so I'm not going to repeat those, but we'll go ahead and tell you which songs are going to be facing off. So if you want to do a little bit of planning, you can. I'm not going to tell you which parts they're all going to be in, but if you want to do a little planning, you can. So for debut, we have Tim McGraw versus Teardrops on My Guitar. Then we have Picture to Burn versus Our Song. The Outside versus I'm Only Me When I'm With You. And Stay Beautiful versus Mary's Song. Moving on to Fearless, we have Fearless versus Love Story. Hey Steven versus You Belong With Me. White Horse versus Breathe. The Other Side of the Door versus Forever and Always. Change versus Jump Then Fall. And The Way I Love You versus Today Was a Fairy Tale. For Speak Now, we are looking at Mine versus Ours. Haunted versus Dear John. Speak Now versus Enchanted. Better Than Revenge versus Mean, and Long Live versus Sparks Fly. For Red, we have State of Grace versus Red, Treacherous versus All Too Well, 22 versus We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together, The Last Time versus Sad, Beautiful, Tragic, Everything Has Changed versus Begin Again, and Ronan versus Nothing New. For 1989, we have Blank Space versus Shake It Off, Out of the Woods versus Style, You Are in Love versus This Love, and Wonderland versus Wildest Dreams. For Reputation, we have Endgame versus Gorgeous, Delicate versus Look What You Made Me Do, I Did Something Bad versus Getaway Car, and Dress versus New Year's Day. Moving on to Lover, we have Cornelia Street versus Cruel Summer, You Need to Calm Down versus I Forgot That You Existed, Paper Rings versus London Boy, False Gods versus Afterglow, and Lover versus Me. For Folklore, we have The One versus Epiphany, Exile versus My Tears Ricochet, Mirror Ball versus Seven, Illicit Affairs versus Cardigan, and Invisible String versus Hoax. For Evermore, we have Willow versus Tolerate It, 'Tis the Damn Season versus Gold Rush, Coney Island versus Evermore, and Long Story Short versus Champagne Problems. And then finally, for Midnights, we have Lavender Haze versus Maroon, You're On Your Own Kid versus Bejeweled, Vigilante Shit versus Karma, Glitch versus Mastermind, and Midnight Rain versus Would've, Could've, Should've. For the, we'll call them miscellaneous songs, we have Safe and Sound versus Carolina, Christmas Tree Song versus Sweeter Than Fiction, and Crazier versus I Heart ? And alright, I'm gonna give it back to Past Margaret. I would love to know in the comments which face-off is going to be the most difficult for you to choose between. It's going to be really funny watching all of you guys lose your ever-loving minds. I am here for that. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. I am a Swiftie that loves to read, so if that sounds like it's right up your alley, there's a subscribe button down there. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, I will have whatever's newest on my channel right over here. That is it for now, my friends. Happy reading, and I will see you later when we will talk about more wordy, nerdy things. Bye!